In this lesson, we'll examine some facial features of actor Nicolas Cage and explore how we can exaggerate them. So we're going to be sketching caricatures of 4 different actors, starting with Nick Cage, and then we're going to move on to Michael Cera, Cate Blanchett, and we'll finish with the great Sean Connery. So when you sketch a caricature of someone, you're able to capture their essence, their personality in an over-the-top fashion, just by calling attention to or emphasizing different physical features. So we're going to be focusing on facial features. That's really where you can really capture that personality. Now, it's important to mention that the images you're going to be seeing of these actors will not be included in the project files because we don't have the rights to redistribute them. However, you can very easily find these same images through an online image search. Now, this course is really an exercise on how you can sketch a caricature of a person in more than just one way, okay? By exaggerating or simplifying different facial features, you can present that person in a number of different ways. It's really how you want to draw the attention to certain areas. Where do you want to direct the viewer's attention to, okay? So just by looking at Nick Cage here, I like to start off by thinking about the primary elements, the primary qualities of his face that really stand out to me. Overall, I feel like he has a really long face, which could be attributed to his nose. You know, I feel like he has a pretty lengthy, long nose. And then he has a lot of real estate right up here on his forehead, which can be attributed to his receding hairline. So that's what I want to go ahead and start with. So I'm going to come over here off to the side, and I'm just going to start doing some sketching. We are doing this in Photoshop, but bear in mind everything we'll do and talk about you can really do in any drawing application of your choice or just on good old-fashioned pencil and paper. So he has this long face, and I'd like to really capitalize on his forehead for this first caricature. We're going to be doing 2 caricatures of each actor. And it can be a challenge to really, once you've got your first caricature drawn, to really see it any other way. You kind of become stuck on it. And so we'll be spending a second lesson drawing a second Nick Cage caricature to see how we can exaggerate and present him just in a different way by exaggerating certain features, drawing emphasis to some parts that we maybe didn't as much so in this lesson. So if I really want to draw attention to that forehead, I'm thinking of just an overall simple form, a simple shape to begin for the entire head. I'm not worried about any kind of anatomical proportions. I'm not worried about this being a realistic representation of his face, of his head. If you're looking to draw something like that, check out my course titled Methods for Drawing the Human Head in our library. But I think a nice light bulb shape where it's a lot larger here at the top of the head will give me a lot of real estate to really emphasize that forehead there, okay? So kind of thinking of where that'll exist kind of right up in here. From here, I like to just drop in additional shapes, kind of thinking about how much real estate would I like that hair of his, which he has got a lot of hair on the sides of his head that kind of plumes out in some images, and again, not a whole lot there on the top. Kind of thinking about where the ears might be. He doesn't really have super large ears, and I don't really want those to compete with the forehead. So that's where visual contrast comes into play. You don't want to over-exaggerate everything because then they're all going to be competing with one another. It's finding that nice balance that will really allow you to direct the viewer's attention and really create something that's appealing and lasting in a person's mind. So, and then he also has a pretty strong chin. It's almost kind of crooked. It's kind of working in just kind of a simple shape right there. I mentioned he has a long nose, so a long kind of oval shape for the nose. And his nostrils kind of flare out to the side. So kind of thinking about the placement of those as well, just working in some additional ovals. His eyes, he has very relaxed, kind of lazy eyes, especially in this one right here. And I just want to kind of work in some small oval shapes that are kind of slanted upward to kind of allude to that kind of relaxed, lazy nature. I'm making his eyes a little bit smaller to really help that forehead pop out eventually. Okay? And then if you look at his eyebrows, he's got some fun eyebrows. I almost feel just the way that they're positioned, They're very straight. Perhaps it's the way he maybe manicures them. But I almost feel like they could be a unibrow. Perhaps he kind of plucks them in the center. So I'm kind of thinking about where those are going to be as well. So now that I've laid down the framework for our caricature's face here, I can really start to emphasize it even further. I'm kind of focusing on that hairline right now. And for the hair, I just want to capture just the overall shape of it. I don't want to get in there and detail out every little strand because that would really detract from the forehead itself. If you look at his forehead on these a couple of images right here, he almost has these lines on the side right there. I think that would be nice to kind of work in. But you want to keep something simplified, right, in addition to exaggerating them. If you try to get too detailed with everything, over-exaggerate everything, again, you'll have that competition where they all kind of cancel one another out. Okay. Coming back to those eyebrows there, he's just got some fun, expressive eyebrows that I suspect could possibly turn into a Nick Cage unibrow if not properly taken care of. He's got some pretty strong cheekbones as well, so I kind of want to work those in. But again, keeping that focus right up there on the forehead. Coming back down here to the nose, I mentioned he's got those nostrils that really flare out. And if you've ever seen a movie with Nick Cage in it where he gets really excited or emotional, those nostrils just go off the Richter scale. And so I'm kind of thinking about those. And you definitely want to have those smile lines that he has in there that kind of connect up in the top part of the nostril right there. I really think that helps really bring those to light. And then again, he's got a strong chin that's kind of crooked in some ways, so kind of angling it. And I'm not making that chin perfectly symmetrical. With caricatures, often having a good sense of asymmetry can really make something that feels fun and appealing. You can get that nice whimsical quality. Moving back up here, I can kind of start to focus on the eyes a little bit more clearly, kind of fleshing those out just a little bit more. Again, I want them kind of sloped to kind of make him feel just very relaxed. Something kind of like that. And he often furrows his brow right in there, and I think kind of sloping his eyes, kind of pointing them upward, kind of will help kind of present that a little bit better as well. I want just some faint lines for the brow. I don't want to get too many in there because that'll be just a little too distracting. Again, I just want all that open real estate, that open farmland right there for his forehead. And if you ever look at Nick Cage's mouth, it's kind of crooked, like the bottom lip. So kind of working in just an overall shape for about how large I want the mouth. I'm just kind of starting to work in that in. I'm making it kind of go opposite the direction of the chin, which is kind of what I feel like it does. And then in the corners of his mouth, he's kind of got that little pursed recess that kind of angles downward just a little bit. I want to kind of get that in there as well. Just kind of a subtle little detail that I think really helps. But already I've started to really feel like I'm capturing the personality. I'm capturing the essence of this actor. And sometimes when I'm doing this, I may even have like a movie that they're in on TV, might play one of their DVDs or something to really just kind of get in the zone. Sometimes I'll even find myself kind of mimicking their voice. Nick Cage kind of has this kind of Nick Cage kind of voice. So I'll sometimes find myself trying to talk like them to really immerse myself in the caricature that I'm creating. So bear in mind, what we've sketched here is just one way to sketch a caricature, okay? And we've exaggerated a few little elements here, a few little features, but we can actually take it a lot further. We're going to do another lesson here where you don't want to get stuck on just one representation. You want to try and push yourself to create something that's even more fun and engaging. So we're going to focus in our next lesson sketching out another Nick Cage caricature, and we'll just kind of see how else we can really exaggerate the different facial qualities that he has. So stick around and we'll go ahead and continue on in our next lesson.